Hello, I'm Bernard Norcott-Mahany. I work at the Bluford branch of the Kansas City Public Library. April is National Poetry Month, and during April 2022, I'm reading Horace's Odes, so selections from Horace's Odes, books 1 through 3. My sort of reason for this is Horace is, of course, an important poet, and I think he often doesn't get read to people who don't already know Latin. So there aren't a lot of good translations of Horace, partly because, of individual poems, there are some great translations. But overall, Horace doesn't have really a good track record with translations. And so I'm using David Ferry's translation partly because I think it is good poetry. So that means sometimes that Ferry is a little bit loose with things. He certainly, when Horace uses phrases that would make sense to a Roman but make no sense to us, he then finds an equivalent phrase. So the poem we're going to look at today is poem 16 from Book 2 of the Odes, which is to a guy named Pompeius Grosphus, who was apparently a wealthy Sicilian. And this is one of Horace's, it's a common theme for Horace, sort of this disdain for wealth, that wealth actually money can't buy you happiness. And that even fame can't really buy you happiness. So the answer is sort of to live in the moment. And right, carpe diem, that phrase, seize the day, is a phrase of Horace. That seems to be sort of one of his philosophies of life. Live simply, but also live in the moment. That's the one thing that you have some control over and that you can fully appreciate. So this is a poem to Grosphus, who is a wealthy guy, basically saying, wealth isn't everything. The sailor out on the sea, a storm coming on, when the black clouds hide away the light of the moon and there's no light of the stars to be guided by, prays for calm weather. The bellicose Thracian sometimes prays for a respite. So does the warlike Mede with his ornate dagger. But neither gold nor jewels nor rich dye-stuffs can purchase peace. Peace isn't something money or some high office can buy. They won't dispel the miseries the soul is vulnerable to, the anxieties that hover around your coffered ceiling. That man lives well who lives a frugal life. On his table gleams the lovingly polished salt dish his father left him. Neither fear nor greed disturbs his good night's sleep. Why do we try so hard to own so much? Why go south in the winter to find the sun? Whoever went away to a foreign country and got away from himself? Care scrambles about the rich man's brass-trimmed yacht, outruns the swiftest horses, outruns the deer, is swifter than Eurus, the squall wind, driving the clouds, raising a sudden storm. Let the heart rejoice in whatever it has right now. Don't worry about whatever might come in the future. Turn it aside with a smile. There's no such thing as absolute guaranteed bliss. Achilles in his glory was taken away. Tithonus got old, but look what he wasted away to. And what the next minute might take away from you, it might offer instead to me. Around your great farmhouse you can hear the lowing of many herds of fine Sicilian cattle. Your fine race mare is whinnying in your stable. You wear the finest garments, double dyed with African purple dye. To me, the fates have given a little house and a certain talent for rendering Grecian verses and scorn for the envious. So he basically is giving Grosphus the what for. You're wealthy, you have all this stuff, but, I've got a little, but I take some joy and delight in that little. And of course, Horace modestly says, he's got a talent for rendering Grecian verses because he's using Greek metrics and so forth, and he's sort of copying the Grecian style of poetry. He's one of the greatest poets, in the history of poetry. So, that it's sort of along the lines of someone like John Lennon and Paul McCartney saying, we can sort of put together some tunes. Yes, you can. So that was to Grosphus, poem 16 in Book 2 of the Odes.